Hello, my spooky friends. This is John, your host of Dairyland Frights in the spookier podcast, Nightland Frights. And I wanted to thank all my spooky friends out there for listening. I truly appreciate it. Please like and subscribe and rate us 5 stars. It helps you make this a better podcast. And make sure you comment what guests you would like me to have on, what topics you would like me to talk about. It's only going to make this podcast better. So again, thank you so much for listening. And please go to my Patreon. Check that out. Become a Parascani for only $3, a spooky friend for $1. And remember, stay spooky. Welcome to the Paranormal Podcast, Dairyland Frights, that covers everything spooky, creepy, and mysterious in the Midwest and beyond. I'm your host, John, and on the podcast tonight, we have gone international. I have Monique and Anthony, paranormal investigators from Date Night with the Ghost Gang from Australia. That is the worst Australian accent ever. I apologize, guys.
That was really good.
Thanks for having us.
Welcome. So, one of the main things that I love about paranormal investigators is, and we just talked about this a little bit offline, is one, I love that when you guys are a team, especially man and wife and everything like that, and working together, because I'm not sure me and my wife could do that. We're pretty scared. We'd probably run the other way. It would not be that much of an investigation, more of screaming and yelling and crying and running the other way. But again, that's why I have such respect for paranormal investigators, because really you're not doing this for the most part for fame or money. I mean, that's nice, right? If that comes along, that's nice if you get recognized. There's nothing wrong with that. But you're doing it for the love of the paranormal, right? So let me ask you to start out. What got you guys interested in it? What your love of the paranormal? How did that start?
Oh, gosh. Well, I've always been interested ever since I was probably about 12 when I had my first experience.
Okay.
And about 20 years ago, I started ghost hunting and really, really loved it. And then I had a little hiatus. And a few years ago, probably about 3 years ago, I started watching the paranormal YouTube shows and that sort of thing. And Anthony came to me one night and he said, "What are you watching?" And I said, "Oh, it's really cool." I think it was Ghost Adventures or something like that. And he showed a lot of interest.
Like Mon's been a psychic medium her whole life. A lot of what she has conveyed to me in due course, things that I was skeptical at the start and trying to work out, okay, well, who have I married? This is something that's kind of really, it did freak me out. Things that were so accurate that she had visualized people that were reaching out to her to do tarot card readings and get psychic medium readings. And one started she's had this reputation, as small as it is, but enough that people were reaching out to her. And when one day, it was like, and this was like Mon said 3 years ago, she turned around and like she put this show on. I lean over and just watching something with her, and I go, okay, this is pretty fucking cool. Like I was really getting into this, and it's like, as a married couple, this was our downtime, right? And we've got a very large family, so for the time we spend together, you get those limited hours, and they could start at 9, 10 o'clock at night, depending when you actually wind the house down. And we started watching this stuff, and I suppose one thing led to another in my mind, because I was looking at these videos and the content these YouTubers were creating. I'm thinking, okay, well, firstly, how real is it? Number one, is something overproduced for commercial purposes? Like you just said before, is it for the fame and the fortune, as opposed to the pure rawness of that actual, that night these guys spend there? Are they just somehow manipulating whatever they're doing to be able to make it into, attractive content for the viewers? And on top of that, I'm thinking, okay, well, this may be real. And I started looking at all the equipment, and my interest came straight away from, I openly say I'm ADHD. So I put my mind to something and I'm all or nothing. It's a million miles an hour. And then I started looking at the equipment going, okay, well, I'm a bit of a skeptic. So this equipment to myself would be my definitive proof that if we were to pursue this, and just as a social means for us just to go out and find some locations, no intention of the actual channel, none whatsoever. And maybe this will be my way of convincing myself that what Mon feels is real as well. So I started putting shopping lists together. And before you, I know we'll get to that. Yeah, but I was going to say, but then, putting these lists together and all this equipment started showing up, and then, it was okay. Well, it wasn't enough for me. I still just kept going and saying, okay, they got this, and this. It's like, okay, well, I love the idea that something had to be manipulated either by human form, or if it wasn't the human form, it would be potentially a spirit, the entity, some energy that's around that will set something up, set a device off, because everything had to be touched through breaking an EMF field, based on an energy source of some kind, or a music box that you walk in front of that physically has to be activated to set the music off. If we tested it and it works, and the stuff's not cheap, and then all of a sudden, we have it turned on, and then all of a sudden it goes off again. That's something that just got me absolutely intrigued. So when we started watching these videos, Mon said, I'll take you to what they call the Picton Tunnel. It's probably, if you do any research, Picton in Australia is listed as in the top 10 most haunted places. Well, it's the town itself is in the top 10 most haunted places in Australia, as much as they, when you look up that actual list, it comes up with physical locations. And we're only about a 10-minute drive from there, from where we are, where we live now. So Mon took me for a drive. She said, I've got a place for you. And this place is accessible during the day. So they open it to the public between the hours of 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we went up there, no equipment, just went for this stroll in there. The first thing you feel is like that initial rush, and we're really excited going, okay, we've got this newfound passion and hobby together that we can share.
I thought it was great. He's coming along.
Yeah. It was that visit, although nothing much happened, just the eeriness of that environment that just grabbed me. Absolutely. I call it's the paranormal drug. I mean, you do it once, and then all of a sudden that adrenaline rush kicks in. You just can't wait to do it again. And Mon said, well, look, you're getting all this equipment and it's driving me fucking crazy that you've turned around, you bought all this stuff, but we're doing nothing with it. And I said, what do you want to do? And she goes, let's get a channel up and running. And she was hounding me for 3 years.
I said, people want to see this. Right? There's no point.
And there's 3 years of the basic stuff. Then it was becoming more advanced cameras and things. Like I'll be watching a YouTube, one of our favorite YouTubers, and I'd basically pause the video when they show that on one of the guys with the camera, and I just look at it, and then I make the calls, and I go, okay, I want this camera to a mate of mine. And he just laughs his head off, and he says, why? And I told him why, and he goes, you're fucking crazy. What are you doing? I said, don't worry about this. You just leave it with us. You'll enjoy the ride once you see what we're about to do. And Mon got away. I always say the happy wife, happy life scenario. So she turned around, and I said, okay, let's just do this for content purposes, but for no financial gain. All we always say is that Date Night with the Ghost Gang came about because that's our quality time. Candlelit dinners are thrown out the window as much as every now and then we go to a auction. We now go through drive-thrus, but our date night is, okay, so where are we going tonight? Do we have the opportunity to go and do another investigation? And that is the absolute niche of what we're about, the honesty about who we are, the love we have for each other. And it's actually conveyed in all the actual footage because we're just ourselves. We don't hide anything. And we say, if you want to watch our channel and follow us, you're following the journey. You're sharing in our date night. You're sharing in the rawness of the interactions we have with the spirit realm. And our reactions are just 100% just blatantly, out there because, we,
authentic.
It's authentic. It is. It's really cool. That's where it's sort of, that's where it led. We just hope that, with the people, and we're completely thankful for even your time to chat with us, is that the people come on board. It's an absolute bonus. Some of the stuff we've captured, and in my short time doing this, and Mon and I have just said, this is incredible. Like I have no explanation for why things happen. What we have seen, what we have heard. It's not just physical devices. It's above and beyond that now. Every time I do it, I'm jumping out of a plane for the first time. That's right. That's the feeling, right? And
and we look at everything in a realistic way. We try to debunk everything that happen. And I'm not a blind believer. I need things to be proved.
100%.
Yeah. So
That's it.
that's conveyed in our videos.
Yeah, absolutely. And for my spooky friends out there, check out their content. It's incredible. I love it. It's raw. It's like you said, you're really getting kind of the feeling of what you guys are experiencing. You know what I mean? Because some people, they edit, and I'm not saying you guys don't do that, or whatever, but you know what I mean? They make it look like it's woo. We got to add spooky sounds, and we got to add this, and we got to add that, and it's just like, no, I love the paranormal groups that I have on. It's just like, here we are, we're having this experience. It's raw, it's emotional, and it's just to me a great time to show things like that to people who get, you know what I mean? They just see the over dramatization of things, and that gets old after a while. Not saying that it's bad, but I get it. You need clicks, for those people. And other times, I just like people who are just, they go out. We're going to this haunted house, what we believe is haunted. And we're just checking it out. We're laying down our equipment and we're going through things. And this is what we capture, and I just love that. So let's get right into it. Tell me about, like, whoever wants to go first, or maybe you share the same experience, your most memorable or significant paranormal experience or experiences, that kind of really, so you can still hear me? Okay, great.
Mhm.
So what are some of your most memorable or significant paranormal experiences? Whoever would like to start.
We have a habit of talking over each other a lot too.
I'll let him start because
Okay.
it's the same experience, basically.
Yeah, look, it's the most recent. We shared a Victorian road trip. So we went down to 3 locations about a couple of months ago. And it was from Beechworth Jail.
It's in another
It's
state.
in another state. So we're looking anywhere from where we are, about 6 hours worth of driving to 10 hours, depending on the location. And we hit 3 places up. And the funny thing is, the last place we went to was called Aradale Asylum. And that place is known as the biggest asylum in the Southern Hemisphere. Over 13,000 deaths in there, complete mistreatment of patients, the most inhumane storage you could possibly imagine. So as dark as that was, to be able to learn the history with our guide on the night, we came away with some of the most definitive paranormal, proof that we've ever experienced. Like that, it's a turning point. Because we sort of laughed it off and we said, maybe we just attract this. I don't know what's like we go with. Like it was, the guide even said this night was absolutely off the charts. Like it was crazy compared to, there was American YouTubers that came out a couple of months earlier than that, and also did some investigating down there. And from what we had captured versus what they had got, with again, chalk and cheese based on what this lady had said. But one in particular, well, there's 2. Mon will talk about the second one. The first one for myself, we were down in it was like a grand ballroom part area. It's a big dining area, but there was a kitchen that was off this, and the kitchen was enormous. We talk about kitchens. This range hood, but they had a range hood across the whole ceiling of this kitchen with little vent holes through the whole thing. And the guide beforehand said, someone actually saw a face and 2 eyes poking through these holes. And I said, well, I better not fucking see that because I'm going to be beelining straight out of this place. So she painted this picture and we left this part to the very end. We spent at least an hour-ish in every place they took us. So this is an investigation from about 6:30 at night till about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And we're filming content the whole time. See, when we're talking about that editing, just real quick, just a side note, we're going away with about 0.5 terabyte worth of footage to try and now say, how do we compress this into content that's going to be visible for people to be drawn into, to watch, to be able to share? That's not going to be 8 hours long. So each video now in my head, I'm doing a 3-part series of this, would be probably an hour and a half each, give or take. So it's really hard to actually try and condense them. But that's how big this night was. When we were in the kitchen, I said to Mon, we have to go and investigate this place. And she goes, I don't really feel good. Her intuition's on point all the time. She goes, I don't really want to. I said, no, you have to. So I basically drag her in there. And we don't take the equipment. We leave the equipment in the dining room. And all I've got is the camera. And I had my EVP recorder. And I thought, just as a last thing of this place, we'll capture an EVP. But when we got in there and, we're completely quiet. And one of our devices, there's a device I have, it's called an epoch box. And it's a yes-no device. So it answers questions, by saying yes or no based again on EMF energy as well. And
Okay.
it can be really accurate. And we walk in this place within about 2 seconds, the device goes 4 times in the deepest voice, it goes, no, 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 like that. And then so Mon gets offside straight away.
Wow.
She goes, I'm out. And I said, no, you're not. You got to stay with me. And we're quiet for a bit more. And I've heard this dragging noise. Now, there is a big kitchen bench that's, probably, I'd say about 10 meters, if that, away from where we were standing. And the dragging noise was behind the bench. But I'm talking to a point where, I've watched enough movies to know, when people drag bodies along the ground, they drop them on the ground, or it's the biggest, I don't know, another comparison might be a real big bag of potatoes. I don't even know, something huge, a big sack of something. And it was dragged along the ground, right? So loud, and dropped and then dragged again. It was on the camera, as clear as day. We freak out, and Mon says, I'm out. Now, the comment I think we put on the TikTok reel was, when we heard this, was I'm grabbing onto Mon like she's a human EMF device. Yeah, I mean, because I did not want her to leave. I said, don't you dare leave me in here, because that's the first time I froze. And a lot of times if something comes out on a device, or I hear a tapping, a bang, or footsteps, I go after it. Yeah, a lot of the times. And I could not move. And this is like this paralysis just crept in, and I was completely vulnerable. And I just looked at each other and went, we don't know what happened. We heard a disembodied voice straight afterwards, and that's on camera as well. And then about a minute later, the guys came back. And then we did a whole run through. They said, what did you get? And I told them, and we went around the whole place, could not find any proof, no marks on the ground from what the actual sound was. But it was that unbelievably scary. It took all my insecurities, and highlighted them. This is where you let your guards down. The first thing we do, and what one taught me over the years that we've been doing this, is that if you're susceptible and you become vulnerable in a situation, no matter who you are, you can attract a lot more. And
Right.
we spend our life keeping our guards up all the time. So, we protect our family, protect ourselves. We let limited people into our lives, at times. And this was something where I had nothing. If it was there, it was going to get me, because I could not move. I just had a camera. I thought, okay, I got the camera. What am I going to do? Throw the camera at something that's I can't even see. You know what I mean? I don't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a turning point for me, because then I realized we've leveled up. As a paranormal couple, date night took another twist, another turn into something that just made us look at each other and go, holy crap, what the hell did we just hear?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys feel like it was evil, like it was trying to hurt you, or did you just feel just like, I'm just plain scared, which obviously I can't blame you?
It was dark. It was very heavy and very dark. Yeah, you wouldn't like to say and I'd love to go back there again, and we will. Would I go in there by myself? Probably the second time I would. If Mon didn't want to go in there, I would challenge myself a little bit more to face the fear of what we experienced the first time and see whether it comes back again.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. It was incredibly dark. It had intent of some kind. And when something creates such a noise and a distraction, they're out to scare you. It's not just to say, hey, hello, I'm
right.
here. They reach out and say what my name is, why how I passed away, and maybe if I've got any other company around me. It's this was outside.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I physically within my body get an indication of if something's darker, and I get that that feeling of dread in your stomach when someone's told you the worst news you've ever heard.
Yeah.
I get that burning sensation in my stomach when something dark is around. So, and that's what happened in that situation.
Yeah.
Froze and said, no, I'm out. Because, it's a really horrible feeling to have.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Monique, have you ever just walked into an area and just said to Anthony, no, I'm not doing this. Is too dark. I can't do this.
Yeah, and that's what happened in this kitchen.
Okay, so yeah, okay.
Yeah, I said, I don't like the feeling. I don't want to go in there. It was really
And
creepy.
and was it, again, some sensitives, I like to say sensitive because it's like medium and clairvoyant and blah, 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 blah. They almost feel, like you said, like it's almost pressing down on them, like it's a weight sometimes, and they can't describe it other than it's just something like, I feel like, it's kind of like, this is a very simple analogy, is like, have you ever had like a wet towel? And someone throws a really soaking wet towel on you, and you're just like, you know what I mean? It's like, you don't like it. You're like, get that wet towel off of me. That's, it's gross and stuff. That's kind of the feeling you get, or is it, like I said, like you said, more in your stomach where you feel
It's
like you're
more,
going to get sick?
yeah, it's more a physical, that burning in my stomach, like
Ugh.
a feeling of dread. I have experienced other things where, you get the cobweb sensation on your face.
Oh,
Recently, we went to Sydney quarantine station, and there's this area called the Grave Diggers Cottage that's like the poltergeist cottage.
Yeah.
wow.
As I walked in there, it felt like I was going underwater all of a sudden. It was a strange thing. All I can put it down to is that I must have walked through something because it was only in one section. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I have various physical sensations. I might feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
on their emotions, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Body.
I've had other sensitive people say they can smell it too. Have you
Yeah,
ever, like, other than the regular smell of whatever, but yeah, you smell something. You
yeah,
know what
you
I
might
mean? It's like,
smell the smell of an old style perfume like rose,
yeah,
or you might smell cigarette smoke, and it's
yeah,
just all of a sudden, and then it's gone. You might smell
mm,
fire, and there's no explanation because there's no fire
Mm.
around, but it's
right.
like something's just passing and wanting
Yeah,
to.
Yeah, so as much as I feel like I'm having a panic attack when things like this happen, my initial feeling, basically realizes it so much that what she feels, she'd be able to really come out and say, okay, well, my throat's really tight. Something's happened to you. Someone, I feel like someone has taken their life or whatever it might be without knowing the actual history of the place. Through due course of actually doing a bit of research, you realize in that area that is the reason why Mom was feeling this, because, being such an empath and being so in sync with that, with the spirit world.
right.
Yeah, it really puts things, in perspective. I'm not yet there.
Well,
Mon's encouraging me, right?
I think he is very much a sensitive, but he's just not realizing what it is he's feeling. So we're in a hospital at the quarantine station. We went into this second ward, and he broke out into a sweat. He felt really anxious. And I said, well, maybe you're picking up on lots of people in here died of Spanish influenza. Maybe you're feeling that, because when people had influenza, they get the sweats and
I shake it off real quick.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as opposed to letting that be a guide of what potentially may lie ahead for me. Mon says a lot of the times, because I've got the camera in my hand, that I'm always a little distracted by it. But that was more at the first few places we went to, because I was always conscious of, okay, content. How do I make this look, the best possible way I could do? And
Yeah,
to be honest, it did distract me. Now I've
yeah,
got enough. I've got the right camera. I know it works. I know what it does. I can move it around a lot quicker, and I'm visually immersing myself in the environment when I know the camera's just in my hand and I can move it around so quickly if I need to. But it's not as much of a distraction. I think that's why I'm actually starting to experience a lot more
Yeah, but
physically.
I
Yeah, that's the same
encourage,
thing.
like,
So
take a moment and just feel.
yeah, we love sitting in
right.
silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love doing that. As much as I can talk underwater. So, I mean, I
Yeah.
have. I think the spirits are saying, "Can you shut the fuck up?" I just want to set off some devices and scare the shit out of you. Can you just be quiet for a second?
I'm yelling
That's it.
and you won't be quiet enough to hear me.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Have you guys ever experienced being touched, grabbed or anything? And what happened?
A lot of times I've experienced being touched.
Okay.
You might feel something on your shoulder.
Yeah.
They like to sort of hold me on the arm here, touching on the face. In the Picton Tunnel, I had my hair stroked.
Oh,
A really horrible experience. I was at this old
yeah.
courthouse called Berrima Courthouse, and we're having a silent vigil. This is years ago before I met Anthony. And so it was pitch black. We're all sitting in a circle, cross-legged on the floor. And I felt, you couldn't see in front of you, but I felt this presence draw very, very close. You know how if someone's hovering over you and your eyes are closed, you can feel them. So it was like that, but I felt them touch my inner thighs. And this was in the men's holding cell of the courthouse where they'd put the prisoners awaiting trial. So that was like, I'm out. Someone's just come into my space and they've touched me inappropriately.
Right.
And I felt their face right up close. It almost like someone wants to kiss you. Yeah, felt very
right. Yeah, that's Anthony, do you ever fear for her? Do you ever, like, when you go into a place, do you ever go like, hey, leave her alone kind of attitude? Or is it just happens, it happens?
Well, you know what Mon just whispered? She goes, you get very protective. I really don't. I just want to throw in the freaking, I want to throw it in the walls. No, it's like dangle her out there.
Especially when we used to go to Parramatta jail, he'd say, back off my wife. If I felt something coming in and I expressed that, he'd say, back off my wife. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Hey,
Anthony, that was the actual prisoner talking.
Anthony, don't feel bad. I've had married paranormal couples on here, and the husband usually says, whatever you're going to do it to me. And I always say, like, maybe like just a really quick story. One of my paranormal couples, the wife was getting like really violently ill, and I have to leave, but she couldn't feel like she could leave. So he finally just said, hey, asshole, whatever you're doing, do it to me, leave her alone.
Yeah.
And immediately he felt sick and he started to get sick. And, they got out of there. And I was just like, man, that's so hard because you love her, but you're trying to have this great experience. But on the other hand, you don't know what's out there, right? You don't have no idea whether if it's an evil entity, a nice entity, right? I mean, how do you handle that? Do you guys, before you go into these places, do you do research? Do you have a certain, I don't know, little kind of things you do, like a little system or a little, hey, every time we go to a place, we do this. You know what I mean?
No, so sometimes we'll want to know everything. And then sometimes we'd like to go in blindly, especially for me, because I want to rely on my senses a lot. And I don't want to be influenced by stories or what. A brief history is good.
Yeah, we get a lot of these places now, but based on, say, the small reputation we're building within the community, that we can get actually, solo investigations, whereas initially we go back beyond 3 years, we're part of a paranormal group of 30-odd people going to look at these places. And it's great. And that was more research at the time because we were learning the history then. I love the idea of having a little guide of what the place is about, what activity they've previously gotten in those different locations, because then it gives you something to actually call out too. Now, if we go in there, it's one thing to go in there blind because that will give us that it has that ominous eeriness about it. It gets you really tuned in really quick. But to know that if there is a entity, if there is something that is evil, I would want to call that to that person.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to avoid the actual fact that this actual person is there. And that's the thing we've said before. Like if something did happen to Mon, 100%, like I'm a little reckless, but when we do this stuff, but at the same time, we provoke out in a respectful way. So I wouldn't have any hesitation to call out whoever it was that was actually harming Mon if that was the case, and say just, chase me. Here we go. Let's go. You know what I mean? Come at me instead.
Yeah.
Little do I know that I've said before in a couple of other podcasts that if I ever went to a medium and had a aura check, I think I'm pretty fucked up, because I don't know what's around me, what potentially has just latched on. Sometimes I could feel like we were a little reckless at times, and inviting certain spirits home with us, when based on feeling empathy towards the situation, and they were thinking they're kids, but they weren't kids.
Maybe
not.
Yeah.
One wake up next morning and seeing handprints on the ceiling of a little child, and it's a 10-foot high ceiling. And that's because I invited a child home with me. So go figure that one.
Yeah, so let's talk about that more. That was my next question. It sounds like you have invited spirits, or spirits have tagged along and gone to your home. Tell me about that. Like, you told me about the handprints. Anything else that kind of happened that you were like, okay,
yeah.
What's going on here?
Well, this is at our previous house, and we'd keep all the paranormal equipment in our walk-in wardrobe. So there was a lot happening in there. We'd have devices going off when we thought, okay, well, I'd see lots of shadows out of the corner of my eye. And said to Anthony when he got home from work a lot of times, we need to investigate because I saw something again. So we'd get the equipment out. The music box would start going off.
Yeah.
The SLS camera would pick things up, climbing in the wardrobe and that sort of thing. I saw a shadow figure standing over Anthony one night.
That made me feel great when I woke up the next morning, John. I tell you, because mine says you were passed out of sleep, and I looked over in this day's sort of, that mid-sleeping state where your focus necessarily taken, you're out of focus a little, right? So everything was a little blurred. Mine said there was some big-ass entity, right, leaning over you, looking at you while you're asleep, while you're asleep. And I said, that doesn't make me feel good at all, right?
And it didn't scare me. I was half asleep, and I just thought,
one just goes back to sleep. Go, okay, I'm going. I've seen that before. Take him. It's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, it dawned on me what had happened, and I'm like, holy shit! But we had knocking on our bedroom door when no one was there.
I don't know what happened there. This is weird because the being because of this one time at the old Parramatta jail, because when I welcomed the spirit home. The next morning when Mon said, what the hell is that on the ceiling? And there was a handprint. We did a little investigating around it. And the way I worked out the actual age of this handprint, it was only one hand, by the way, on a 10-foot high ceiling. There was a canvas that all the grandchildren gave to my father at his 80th birthday. And you got these handprints, my nephew's 4 at the time, 2 handprints. So I put my hand next to his hand, took a photo, went back home, stood on a chair. I'm 6'4", at full reach to put my palm flat on the ceiling. And I took a photo of the handprint next to my hand, and it's identical size to a 4-year-old. So our youngest children at the time would have been 12, give or take. And we gave them free rein. We said, look, if you can touch the ceiling, go ahead and do it. Stand on the chair, stand on the windowsill, do whatever it takes to maybe see if you can do it. No one could do it. And they're all tall kids. So we left that place, and guess what? We left the handprint there too. So that's okay. So whatever's there, staying there. But again, that was and something that, again, we looked at and we went, what the fuck just happened? That's the flip of it all, though. Being a little reckless, it can cause, we should be more of ourselves. I don't think we do enough. And I don't think it's because we're green to this industry, because Mon has so much experience under her belt.
We just get so carried away with what we're doing. And then it's the end of the night or early hours of the morning, and we're like, yes, we had a great night. Let's go. And then the next morning we wake up and we say, we didn't sage. We didn't anything.
That's what I was going to ask.
Cleanse ourselves.
Because that's what typically every paranormal investigator tells me before they leave. They do 2 things. One, they say, whatever spirits are here, you can't come home with us. You need to stay. Oh, okay, you do say that. And then they have crystals and sage, and they do that. And now sometimes it doesn't work. And sometimes it does. One of the things I was going to ask you, Monique, is with a lot of these places you go to, especially asylums or, certain institutions, hospitals, there were little kids there and they didn't have a mother. So they see you and they go, hey, she seems like a nice woman.
Yeah.
I'm going to go home with her. Is that sometimes have you ever felt that? You kind of talked about with the handprint, but have you ever felt like you were like, wait a minute, what's touching my hand? You look behind you and you like, it seems like a little kid maybe having a little fun with you.
Yeah, I've picked up on children quite a lot.
Hmm.
At Parramatta Jail when we were investigating prior to the handprint.
Yeah.
So we had a spirit box set up with a portal that filtered out all the white noise. So only voices were coming through. And we heard distinctively twice, "Hi, Mummy." And it was the sound of a
No.
little boy.
Yeah.
So we were trying to tap into that and communicate with that spirit. And I think he said his name was Benjamin or something like that. Anthony kids love him for some reason.
Go figure that shit, right?
Don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You're a big kid.
He was really feeling empathy towards this little boy, supposed little, and so he felt this little boy holding his hand. So I can tell that story, and that's why it followed us home.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
The equipment at the base of a set of stairs, and I'm getting my whole right side felt like it was in an ice bath. It's like you get the pins and needles feeling without the numbness. And that's exactly what happened. And so I said, I think he may be holding my hand. I mean, he's got to be close to me. But that was the time, I suppose that with everything we've done, when it comes to children, it pulls on some heartstrings, right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying it was a child. I mean, it's really hard to decipher exactly who we were communicating on the night. That that portal, when it detracts the white noise from the spirit box, this is when it's manipulated. I mean, no children's voice should come out on this. Do you know what I mean? Like by theory, it just shouldn't happen. I don't know. I'm more convinced that even though they cut the wire that basically circulates through the radio. Telecommunication towers, etc. 99.999% of these voices are always adults, and male, female. It could be growls, could be words, sentences, etc.
Yeah.
But the child's voice be so definitive. That was one night. I got very emotional. A lot of the other stuff becomes very factual in my head, and I just got to try and decipher it real quick and work out what's happening and run like a bull out of the gate, right? And just go after it. But this pulled me back so much. He
didn't want to go, and that was the end of the night. We had to be out of there, and he felt this child holding his hand, and he said, "Look, we have to go, but you can come with us if you like."
Yeah.
What's another child? We've got 8.
Yeah.
And
a combined family of 8 children from ages 30 down to 15. So I said, we got that many at home, so what's one more? That's basically how I said
there
it.
you go.
And one goes, you maybe shouldn't have said that. So that's all right. He's fine. It's Ben. He's a little kid,
Yeah, come on. What's the difference?
Ben's climbing on
Ben's
the ceiling.
climbing the tree, going to some spider form and, I don't know.
Yeah, so
who knows? Like that was a nice story. And it being a very, very, very early investigation, I love that because it sort of molds what we've done to where we are now. And how my character has evolved, by paranormal investigating, the influence of Mon, and like you said, using your body as a physical instrument to be susceptible. Let yourself feel it, as opposed to just look at stuff all the time.
You're the most accurate paranormal tool. I keep saying.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the biggest things is the energy, whether it be good or bad, just doesn't disappear. It goes into things, right? So maybe it went into a chair. Maybe it went into the walls. Maybe it went into this bed. And, that's really interesting to me too. Have you ever been on a paranormal investigation and, we're talking about voices and spirits. Have you ever touched an object or something and been like, wow, this is a lot of energy in it?
When you did you're aware of the Estes method?
Yes, I am. Yep.
Beautiful. So when we were at the quarantine station, the most recent time we were there, and the Gravediggers Cottage. I mean, that sounds as eerie and dark.
Gravedigger's Cottage.
But you know what? From the outside, it does look like it could be in The Conjuring, right? And it's a small cottage in the middle of nowhere on this
It's in the quarantine station.
in the quarantine station.
Yikes.
That was all the grave diggers. For everyone that had passed away, the grave diggers would reside there. The doctors would also reside there as well. And a lot of dark shit happened in there. The stories started to unfold, and we heard even more stories the other day when we were there, just talking to our friend who's one of the guides. Yeah, when you go in there, it's just it's a quaint little cottage, right? And you go, and it's there's no electricity. So
okay.
the first part of it was Mel opens the door, says to me, "Okay, Anthony, it's all yours." I said, "Fuck yeah, this is what." so I said, I leveled up. This is great, right? And so the door's a little ajar, and I do this, and one love, she loves it and hates it every time I do this because I knock really loud on the door a couple of times. I go, "Hello," before I go in there. And I've taken the camera and just gone in the night vision camera, just gone through there and just did about 5-10 minutes by myself walking around. Switched the actual IR on the camera off just to show everyone what I'm looking at, and it's pitch black. You can't see a foot in front of you. But down the corridor is a chair, and the chair has been notably a trigger object for a dark spirit. Where the guides, when they leave, there's numerous of them have actually said when they go to close the door at the end of the night and they turn around, they say goodbye, they've seen this entity sitting on the chair, and a real heavy entity. So of course we said whilst we're in there, what do we call it? No, because it came up with something like chair. One of the devices said chair of torture, so that's what we named it the whole night.
Oh my God.
And so one turns around and says, "Oh, can't I just do the Estes in this other room?" I said, "No, chair of torture, go." Right? I said, "You're there.
Come on, sit down. What are you doing?"
And she sat in there, and it was that heavy. You're talking about the weight, something that she was like it would have been a good half an hour, right? And telling us to get out through the spirit box, saying that it's you. And then as soon as I took a step away, screaming, don't, like this, something was happening, right? And she doesn't remember saying any of this stuff. And then some of it. And it was really dynamic for what we wanted to experience, but it really grabbed us.
When I was sitting on the chair, it wasn't that I could feel something underneath the chair, like I wasn't picking up on the energy of the chair. However, I felt a dark energy hovering over me, and it was blocking out the only light that was coming from the camera.
Yeah.
So that was terrifying.
Yeah.
Because it's pitch black and I could feel that energy standing over me as I'm sitting in the chair.
That's what you get for sitting in the chair of torture,
Chair of
baby.
torture.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I think it was pretty obvious that torture chair.
No?
Yeah. I award it. Whatever.
So chair of torture, I go, yeah, whatever. It's a chair. I'll just sit in the fucking thing. You'll be fine.
Hey, come on. Just sit. Come on, what are you doing? That looks comfortable. What do you think is the biggest difference between paranormal investigators like yourself in Australia and paranormal investigators in the United States? Or do you think you guys are just the same? Is there any difference?
I think we're different. As much as I can openly say, I've got a man crush on a couple of these guys over there based on who they are and what they've achieved. I think it's brilliant, right? So take my hat off to them. The major difference is the word demon that comes up. You know, a lot of these places, when they get called out to be demonic, anything that we've ever done research on, demonic is out of this realm conjured spirit, right? Something that has actually, it's inhuman. The two of us haven't really experienced that, right? So don't want to be speaking out of turn by saying this, but a lot of what happens when the devices come up and they say these words, and on the content that we do watch from these American YouTubers, that's the highlight. Do you remember when we were saying that when things are produced, you know what I mean, for content purposes to get the clicks and get the followers and views, etc., you know, comes the key word, right? And it's like, okay, well, if this is demonic, fuck, I'm going there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, there is
demon house.
Right.
When we get those words on our devices out here, we laugh. I don't mean that disrespect, right? But we turn around, we look at each other and we just go, no fucking way. Like seriously, it's like demon. I go, no, you're not. Like, and I say, who are you? Seriously, tell me your name. You know, and that's really, little do I know. Yeah, mate. I'm probably going to bite off more than I can chew one day, right? Because I think, if something does come up to us in human, I will. I don't know if I'd do this ever again because I've seen too many movies to see how dark and evil things can get.
Right.
But that's the biggest difference. I don't think we buy into that as much.
Yeah.
The content is eerie. The content, I'll say to you, it has some ominous tones underneath it and a few little effects and some music just to boost it a little. But it's so raw, but we just really, we shut that option down, not out of ignorance. It's just out of our own personal belief.
Yeah.
Until we go over there. If we go over there and we go to the Sally House and we go to, I don't know, if we went Haunted Hill House or any of these places that we've seen that, so-called demonic entities reside there, then and I experience one-on-one, then I will apologize. I can tell you that right now.
I apologize, demon. I am so sorry.
We'll put something up straight away and say, look, you guys are fucking brilliant. We love you. Make sure you collab with a couple of wonderful Australians that are just good company. But that would be awesome. But then, I would admit when I'm wrong most times.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Well, see here, maybe I'm just buying into the hype. But in Australia, there's like a bunch of snakes that can kill you, spiders that can kill you. I mean, like, is that right? Not to get away from the paranormal, but you could go out into your yard and the snake's gonna kill you? I mean, what the hell is going on?
We've got this gorgeous reserve at the back of our place. It's on a golf course, and there's snakes, there's spiders,
And the
everything.
deadliest snakes in Australia.
Yes.
Never seen them yet.
Never seen them yet. Spiders appear. When they did the excavation, when we got our house built, there was shit appearing everywhere. I got to get a mate of mine come over and pest control the place. He's laughing his head off. He's going, you shouldn't be afraid of this. I said, mate, I don't want this shit. Yeah, this is where it comes to. But the fear of what you guys have, which I love, because about the spiders, right? Number one, because there was an image that circulated when there was a massive flood, a period of rain that we had here. And it flooded a town so much in rural, is it like country New South Wales or somewhere in Australia?
Yeah, somewhere like
and it brought out all these huntsmen and spiders. Now it got to a point where the whole paddock looked like it was snowing, but it was all spiders. The whole house was covered in spiders and everything. It was like
they brought their webs above the surface.
it was unbelievable, right? And that was the fear. A couple of people have spoken to said, "There's no way I'm coming to Australia because my wife can't stand the spider scenario," But it's not that bad. I can promise you guys, if you ever want to come out here, it's not that bad.
You rarely see them.
Yeah, and majority are harmless, but at the same time, no one likes picking up spiders and creepy crawlies anyway, right?
You've just got to watch out when they're, old things laying around your yards and stuff like that. If you do that, careful because you'll get a redback spider. They like to hide in old bricks and timber and stuff like that. So you've just got to keep your yard tidy.
Yeah, they're ugly fuckers. There's no doubt in that. You don't have to worry about it.
Be careful when you're picking things up off the ground because there's spider web.
Obviously. Now, one of the things that's kind of similar in both our countries is Indigenous people and the different spirits they have and their beliefs and everything. So, for example, here in where I live in Wisconsin, there was a number of Indigenous people, Native American people, and there are burial grounds all over this state, okay?
Yeah.
Like literally parks have it. And one of the most famous cases here in Wisconsin, you guys can look at this, whenever you get a time. There was a mansion called the Summerwind Mansion that was built upon a Native American burial ground.
Yeah.
And it was considered at one time in the entire United States the most haunted house, mansion, whatever you want to say, in the United States. So do you guys have anything similar to that in Australia where maybe there's some haunted places you guys want to check out, or maybe you can't check out because the Indigenous people are like, you better not go there. Something's really bad going to happen to you.
No, unfortunately, our Indigenous people with cases like that, it's not spoken about. It's kind of hidden. It's like the dirty secret, so to speak. So if a house is built on a burial ground, nobody knows about it unless they dig deep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the places they will talk about housed Indigenous slaves in cellars and stuff like that are restless, but not on burial grounds. We don't know about anything.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
house sounds absolutely hectic. By the
Yeah,
way.
we want to go there.
What's the house called?
Yeah. Yeah. So the interesting thing about Summerwind Mansion, it's up in northern Wisconsin, and it is no longer there because it mysteriously burned down. It was struck. It was struck by lightning. It's a great history of it. So it was this beautiful mansion off the lake. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, just you couldn't have basically a postcard moment. I mean, and
Right.
people who lived there went insane. People would there were portals there. There were people who, like workers there who would be, renovating the house, and they would be like, I'm not coming back tomorrow. I'm leaving. No, you can have my tools. I don't care. I'm not coming back because got so bad. Yeah, and it got so bad. And then eventually what happened to it was struck by lightning and partially burned down. And a lot of paranormal groups, it's on private property, so you have to, just probably like in Australia, you have to ask permission to go on. So they investigated and they found out, well, basically it's on a Native American burial ground. That's one problem. The other problem is supposedly it has different portals to different existence in there, and I don't know, to different worlds. They found that out, and now it's just ruins. There's hardly anything left. They wanted someone, and I don't know if this has ever happened to you guys, maybe in your country, somebody wanted to rebuild it, and everyone has stopped it. Everyone says, no, you cannot rebuild. We will not let you. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe we could move some stuff, but nope. I don't know. I mean, you know what I mean? That would be a fun job. Like, bro, let's dig everybody up and move away. Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. So there obviously is a big difference between, do you guys have to, obviously, I did some research on some of the haunted places in Australia, but what I found out, you guys don't typically have a lot of haunted houses. Because here we have the Amityville house, we have the Sally house, we have on and on and on and on and on.
John, stop teasing me.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, honestly.
One, okay. There is one, it's meant to be Australia's most haunted house, and it's called Monte Cristo Homestead. And they used to run ghost tours there for years and years and years. I never got to go there. And just recently, they stopped everything because the owner passed away. She left the house to her 4 or 5 children. And the son who was running the tours wasn't in the will. So the house was left to the 4 daughters or 3 daughters. And they've said, no, we're not doing it anymore. So you can't go there. They'd have haunted getaways. You could stay there, and it was meant to be off the charts.
Yeah. Gosh, there was one place we looked at, and again, we've got no way whatsoever of getting access to it. But there was an article, go back probably 20 years, give or take, and this is somewhere just as a suburb close to Parramatta, which is sort of southwestern Sydney. And this house had Ed and Lorraine Warren actually come and investigate it. Now, the fact they came all the way here to do this, and it was supposed to be like they said, they had told the residents at the time, you either move out or you die. That was in this article. Okay. Now, the house is still here, but the house is rented out, and it's in suburbia somewhere out, in Kellyville or wherever it is. I don't know for the life of me why, if they wrote an article like this and they said this is the facts of what had actually happened, people, it's not their ignorance. It's a fear of wanting to admit what's actually there, right? Yeah. Is maybe that's stopping people from actually allowing even the paranormal investigators even more access to places like this.
Right.
The average person doesn't embrace it the same way you guys do. So I know a lot of places, if someone buys a haunted house over there, they will advertise it and say, yes, this
Right.
is like, and it might be an Airbnb and they rent it out for people to come through and investigate. Over here, a lot like the Indigenous burial grounds, it's like a little secret. So they don't want to acknowledge it.
It's a very niche market.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near to the same magnitude of which is why we're so excited about potentially getting ourselves on a plane and come over to the States. I think it's just played down quite a lot. Although there is the paranormal group, and they're incredibly passionate individuals with the same drive we've got to try and uncover the unknown. But the majority, they say, we don't want to. We do not want to borrow this. You know what I mean?
There's a couple of old houses that you can visit that are owned by councils and stuff like that. A lot of them aren't open to filming. Yeah. So if we want to go and visit one of these places, it would be in a group situation on a night tour, so to speak, trying to get access to one of them.
Then the group tours take away everything too, because I think as much as a group energizes the spiritual energy of the place, it completely zones me out. I react differently to it all. I just see too many people.
I think you become overstimulated, and then you can't focus on what you're doing.
Sure.
Too many sounds around. You can't listen out for spirit.
Right. Yeah, that's really interesting to me. So would you say that the average Australian person believes in ghosts, or do you think they're more skeptical?
More skeptical, because you get if you think of where the newer Australians have come from, we've come from mainly Britain and the convicts, and they're like, yeah, right, mate, whatever. Very skeptical, and it's like black and white. They don't see things in the grey.
Yeah,
so
that's
the
interesting.
majority, but they're slowly opening up.
Like our family and friends are just sitting back going, okay, we love you guys, and we are very excited for what you're doing, but you're fucking nuts. Simple as but I don't. It's like you said, like yourself and your wife love the stories and love talking to people about their experiences. So that gives you the heebie-jeebies. You get white knuckles out of it because you're gritting so tight, that you would not feel yourself being able to allow yourself to go and experience it, which I think you should do one day. You've got to get up there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because you've got so much passion in what you're saying. And I reckon you've got that much knowledge already. When you talk about all that respect, trying to equip yourself with the right things to say, you already know that, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely. If I could say to you guys, the best place would be to start that you would absolutely love, and this is actually kind of funny because it's totally different. There is a place in America called Savannah, Georgia. It is
I'd love to go
usually number one is haunted place in America. And people there, every place is haunted. I mean, literally every place. It's crazy because I visited a couple of times. I've gone on tours, so numerous ghost tours, and interviewed people from there. Here's the thing that just cracks me up is, so I was there on business and I was just hanging out and everything. And I got on the tour, and the tours they take you to as like the graveyard. You remember, so in America, you probably learned this, maybe, with the Civil War, in Savannah, they did not, which is interesting because I love history, they did not have any real Civil War battles in Savannah. However, when the Union Army, when they marched through, they basically just laid waste to everything. I mean, didn't matter, right? So that's not good, right? The other thing, in the cemeteries there, when the Union soldiers came, they desecrated all the graves. Like they threw like mausoleums. They threw the bodies out because it was cold, and they would live in there. Or a newly fresh grave, they would take the body, throw it out, and lay in the grave. So that whole entire graveyard,
happy souls over there,
is just right for paranormal experiences. And the other thing was, what was really funny to me was I was by myself. And so I did my thing and I walked around. And when I was going past the graveyard by myself about midnight, by the way, I was walking past and I got my phone out because I said, aha, they would not let you in the graveyard during the tour at night because people had been claimed they had been beaten. Like a dude comes up to you and punches you. Rat, hair pulled, nauseous, everything. So they said, no, you can't go in. Well, me being stupid, me and Anthony, we're cut from the same. Yeah.
Very well.
Yeah. We're kind of the same. So like I went up right to the gates and I tried taking pictures and my phone wouldn't work. Would not take a picture, not one. So I get back to my hotel and I, try taking pictures and it worked. And then I go downstairs and I talk to the manager. And like I said, everyone in Savannah knows everything's haunted and they love talking about it. So I'm talking to the manager and I tell her, yeah, so I'm walking past the graveyard and I'm trying to take pictures and everything. And she goes, honey, you do not do that. You don't go near that graveyard at night. You're crazy. And she took out, I'm not kidding you, she took out this crystal and she like rubs it on me. She's like rubbing it on me. I'm like, whoa. I'm a married man here. What's going on? Yeah. Hey. I have to pay extra for this? What's going on? And so she's like, okay, you're fine now, but if something happens, let me know. And I'm like, okay. I mean, that's the way they treat it there. And they invite people, like she says, talking to the manager, she goes, oh, my house is haunted. My grandma, she died at my house, unfortunately, and she still haunts. And I say hi to grandma. I see grandma walking down the halls.
I get myself a coffee. I'll make 2 coffees. That's it.
Yeah, it's nothing to them. And everything around downtown Savannah is haunted, all the bars, of the apartments. And they have a lot of really cool tours and a lot of great paranormal groups who are just like, yeah, come on, join the group. Let's go out tonight, find something. And not to say you find something every night, but most of the nights you do because of the activity. A couple homes, they had to close down because the paranormal investigators going in there kept telling them, you got to close it down. I'm walking out with bruises on my back. I'm walking out with scratches. You got to close it down. Just shut it down. Don't put it on the tour anymore. So, places like that in America, which is weird to me because we don't have, in my opinion, the rich history of maybe like in Australia or a UK or something like that. But we have kind of like quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Like really, really deep stuff, and that's crazy. Yeah.
That's Mon's secret of little obsession right now. She wants that definitive proof of getting scratched, right? And so I think we've just found the place to go. So we'll send her on a plane by herself to Savannah, and she can get all the scratches.
Yeah, right. Let her go crazy with that.
Well, that is crazy. If an entity can really do that,
yes,
and create that force, that's so powerful. Now, it's one thing that they're disgruntled. They've got reasons to be pissed, right? So they come out and or aggressive spirits, but that is in ridiculous amounts of energy. We think about manipulating your phone and you can tell that story in a sec, actually. That's a good one. Like manipulating your phone and or any of those devices, I think takes a lot of energy to start it off anyway. Draining batteries.
Absolutely.
Always say use our energy on top of the energy of the devices, whatever it takes for you to manifest, to show yourself to us if you can, or interact with, what we've put around the place. That's what we asked. But Mon's got this story. Did you want to tell you about them?
Yeah, go right ahead.
It's going back a few conversations, but this is when you said a definitive moment. I talked about the dragging of the bag and what I thought was a body. I will tell you the story.
For me, it was in the same asylum, and we had been walking on the bottom level and distinctly heard heavy footsteps on the floor above it. So it was 3 floors in this building, and stopped in our tracks, and we're just hearing clomp, 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 clomp. Apparently, when a physical person is walking on that floor, you hear the floorboards squeaking. So
this was piercing. This was a thud all the way through the floor.
like
So
someone was
ridiculous.
wearing boots, and we could follow it. I was following it,
Yeah, that's
and this
crazy.
was on a little TikTok clip. I was following the sound with my finger, and so we knew exactly where it was. And of course, we had to go up and investigate. So no one was around. At this time of night, everyone had left the site besides ourselves, our guide, and another staff member who was way down the front of the property in the office. So we said to the tour guide, "Is anyone up there?"
Yeah.
And she said, "Well, there shouldn't be."
She had the look of fear. She was this as her job, and she did not want to move up there either.
We said, Anthony said, "You've got to take us up there." And we go up there. We've got to make sure there's no one there.
Yeah.
And we wanted to know exactly what room it was coming from. So we go up there, and I kept saying, "Where was it, Diane?" And she said, she took us through this little maze, and she said it would have been coming from around this room. And this room it was like a hospital ward, and you had 3 partitions in the center of it that were about waist high. And I guess they divide the beds up for the patient, and we're in there for a while. And
we called him out straight away. The first thing I say, "Okay, we've heard you. We know you're here, and there is supposed to be
man,
and Di said, I hope it's not who I think it is, because if it is, he's not nice." That was what she said before we went up there. So you continue that, because that's initially what we did. We had to call him out and say, "Okay, if you are here, we need to know you're here now."
Yeah.
yeah, so we'd invited him to come forward, basically, and we started hearing really faint tapping that we thought were coming from the window, and said, "Did you hear that?" And thought maybe it's somebody outside. And Diane said, "We're on the 3rd floor. There's no one tapping on the windows outside."
Yeah, right.
And what about an animal? No, because there's no trees. There's, no possums that are hanging, kind of tapping on the windows.
Right. Yeah.
It was a bit louder, and it came a little bit closer to us. And after us expressing, "Okay, well, if that was you, can you
Repeat this noise.
do it again?"
I knock on the wall as well. Can you repeat something? We're just trying to get an instant response. Then we say, "Do it again for us."
Do it again. And then we heard what sounded like tapping on the far partition, the furthest. So we determined that no, it wasn't outside, it was inside. And we kind of froze. Okay, we're interested now.
Yeah.
And then it was slow tapping, getting a little bit louder, coming closer to us. It was like it came to the next partition, tap, tap, tap. Said, "Okay, what the hell is that?"
Yeah.
And then it was tap, 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 tap. And it was getting louder and louder, to the point it was directly in front of us, probably about 3 foot in front of us was the last partition. And it got to the point where it was banging, and it was bang, 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 bang. So I just couldn't explain it. You couldn't debunk that, because it was right in front of us. You can see where the sound was coming from, but you couldn't see what was doing it. And it was banging. And I've never been so terrified in my life. The sound still haunts me.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't explain it. We were stunned.
It's one thing to know that we felt and heard that. It's another thing to have it again. It's the bonus, the fact that everything was caught up.
Yeah.
So it's not, it was aggressive. It was banging towards, like, it was so close to us. And then Monja, we phrase them, and I look around and go, "What the hell was that?" And I go over to the partition, look over, there's nothing there. It's like, there's nothing, there's no marks at all. And you look on one of the doors, and this was to show the inhumane treatment. One of the cell doors, they're real thick, metal door, timber door, and then on with pane of glass, it's about that thick that you can't actually break to be able to get through. It's only a little strip, right, that they look through. But there were nail marks gouged into the door. There were teeth marks into the door. There was so much proof. You can't expect something's going to be nice there. And that's funny, because that's crazy. It's crazy because that's still scarred Mon, and Mon can handle quite a bit. And has seen quite a bit, a lot more, like I said, than I've ever experienced. But enough to be able to say that just put us straight in the track. And she grabbed onto me, and she would not, if I said to her, you can stay up here now for the next 10 minutes and see what happens, she would have said, no fucking way, you are not going anywhere. You got to stay.
Yeah.
So this is,
I was frozen,
Yeah.
like you said, we got it all on camera, and I put a little clip of it on TikTok and Instagram, and you can see that moment, and it's all clearly on camera.
Yeah.
And we just can't wait to drop that video. And
Don't be.
a few months away, I think, but it's so unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is
That,
such an iconic to be able to get such proof, if that makes sense.
yeah. Yeah. To even get something like that, because people don't understand. Yeah. You can go into a location and maybe get something right off the bat, get something happens. You could be there for 8 hours, nothing, or maybe you think you hear something, but there's nothing. And that's really tough, to go through that. So thank you guys for doing this. I could talk to you for hours. You're so amazing. You have some great stories. But before we wrap up, I have to ask, I'm going to start with you, Monique.
Yeah.
What would be your all-time favorite place to investigate? And I'm talking that, I'm giving you all the money in the world. You can go there and you can do whatever you want. Where are you going?
One place?
We'll stay with one place. Like top of your list, top of the list.
I want to go to Waverly Hills Sanitarium.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that would be number one.
Nice. And why?
Why? Because it's an asylum. It's meant to be, it looks to be the most well-known, the most haunted in America. And we've seen so many of our, guys that we follow go there. And I'd love to experience that for myself. See if it's as dark as they say it is.
Yeah. It's a big place. It's a big place, guys. I'm just telling you.
Yeah.
Anthony, how about you?
I'm in between too, but I want to go to the Sally house. I do. Well, and I'd say this. I was going to say the Conjuring house, but the thing is, you can't go there, right? So that was the other side, because that was just very nostalgic to why I started doing all this anyway. Right?
Yeah.
But the Sally house definitely, but with a little twist, because I'd love to collab. One and I have said this numerous times. If we can reach out and say, like Elton Castay from the Overnight Crew, or even Twin Paranormal, like either one of those guys, we would love to be able to do something with them down the track. But because they're the bottom line being, they're the inspiration to why these places are so attractive to us to want to go there. But that's one, John. You know what I mean? Like, it's such like this is what I'm saying. Yes, you know what I mean? Like, this is, I reckon if I research that, you ask me next time, and that will be off the list. I'll have something else.
You bet. You bet. One of the things is, for American paranormal investigators, our really top place is Gettysburg. Gettysburg is the place to go. Going to the battlefield, going to the surrounding areas, just because there was so much loss of life and so much tragedy and so much of everything. And being that a lot of the historical, artifacts are still there, that energy has been soaked up into that, right? So that's why, when I talk to paranormal investigators who have been there, they're like, I hear musket fire, I've seen soldiers, I've seen little boys running around there. I see, all these different things.
They see a reenactment of the battle again. That's what they
correct. Correct. Yeah, they'll do reenactments and everything, which obviously does not help. That kind of brings the spirits more energy, right? Because they're like, oh, okay, are we still fighting?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Is that what we're still doing? Okay, great. I'm going to come up and so there's a great stuff on there. So again, thank you so much. I'd love to have you guys back on again. This was awesome. That's so much fun. Make sure you guys check out, all your social sites. Do you want to share that with my audience, where they can find you and maybe what's coming up for you guys?
Sure. All socials, we've got Our content channel is Date Night with the Ghost Gang. That is fresh. It's only 3 weeks on YouTube. That's only 3 weeks, give or take. So it's a little baby. We're nurturing it, and there's so much to come on that. So by all means, if you want to get anyone wants to get a overview of what we're about, you'll figure us out pretty quickly by just even just checking out that channel. Mine's managing all the other socials, so Insta, TikTok, and Facebook are basically the 3 other ones that Mon looks after. But the reels that are on TikTok are, they're unedited. Some of this stuff just has to be shared immediately of what we've experienced. So again, for content purposes, see exactly what we've actually captured, by all means, hit that up as well. Like they always say, it takes 1 second, if that, to subscribe. It really shows a bit of love. And join our date night. Come along with the journey. You always say, buckle up. It's going to be one hell of a ride. Yeah.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. I will put all your links when the episode comes out. I'll let you guys know when it does. And please, it was so funny that you explained this date night stuff, because I was like, do you take people on dates or something? Is this like, like, hey, let's go. We're going here. It's my first date. Yeah, great. Bring it on. The really quick funny thing is, I've had 2 paranormal investigators, the couples, actually get engaged during an investigation. One of them went pretty good. The other didn't. They both said yes. So yes, they're married and everything. But it was one of those investigations. Things aren't going so well. And then the guy was like, well, I got the ring. This is what I wanted to do. So here we go. So I love that. That's great. Thank you so much again. And like I said, all the information will be on their links in the episode notes. And again, stay spooky. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony.